I want to introduce myself. My name's Julia Spicer, and I'm the very great honour to sit on the Queensland Chief Entrepreneurs Innovation Advisory Council. I get to do that with a whole range of great people, including Nat, and we are supported by a team of staff. And on the call today from the Chief's office, we have Sarah Smith, we have Heather James, and we have Nicolle Whiteman. We also have Sandy Mott and Beck Hannon as part of the team. And thank you to the ladies for organising today. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which we are all meeting from today across Queensland. I'm here in Gundawindi and I'm on Bigambul country. And so offer my respects to leaders past and present, and really excited that we get to work with a lot of the emerging leaders through various projects that are happening both across the work that Advanced Queensland and the Chief's office is doing, and also across our own community of Gundawindi. So if you know your traditional owner group where you are joining us today, it would be great if you can pop that in the chat. And if not, a quick little Google search will probably give you that information. So we acknowledge our traditional owners. As we said, this is being recorded, and what we're really wanting to be able to do with this Regional X webinar series is to make sure that conversations that are happening aren't missed by those of us who might not be able to get to a larger centre on a regular basis. So we know that there's really great opportunities to have meetups and to, have really interesting conversations in some of our larger centres and through some of those larger hubs, whether that's Toowoomba, Cairns, the precinct in Brisbane, and some of the other hubs that are around the place. But we also know that sometimes that's not always accessible to people that are living in more remote or rural areas of Queensland, or it's just physically we're not physically able to get to some of those conversations. And so COVID brought us this wonderful world of Zoom that we're all experts in now. There'll probably only be 3 times today that Heather reminds me to unmute myself, but we'll all just play unmute bingo for that exercise. But what we want to be able to do is really make sure that we've got an opportunity to spotlight fantastic work and fantastic innovative businesses that are in the region, and we get to do that today. We want to be able to look at, well, what are the topics and the conversations? What are the trends? What's on the horizon? And how do we make sure that regional businesses get to be part of that? And how do we also help? We know that isolation is something that we have that we deal with on a fairly regular basis. And so how do we help through these webinars to kind of help reduce that isolation through connecting you all together, but equally connecting you to topics and activity that's happening on a wider scale. And so today we have a very specific conversation that we want to have with you all, and it's really exciting to be able to do that. So I'm going to hand over in a moment to Nat and Nick to talk us through what's happening today, and I'm excited to hear about what got people in the room, what it is around these webinars that are useful for you, particularly in the conversation that we're having today around SportX. A few of you were with us a couple of weeks ago when we had our first webinar. It'll follow a similar format, but we're really able to enjoy the conversations that we can have around SportX and looking forward to the Olympics in 2032 and how they can really be, something that all of Queensland can get behind. So I guess with that bit of an introduction, Nat and Nick, I am happy to throw to you if that works.
Great. Thank you, Julia. And we too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Jagera and Yurrabal people of the land we're on today. And I specifically, as Nat, and this is Nick, I haven't put her name in there, I should. Sorry, it's my private computer. The 60 Indigenous Olympians that have represented our country and the 16 Indigenous Paralympians. So we have an amazing history there for the Olympic and Paralympic movement, and we look forward to growing that over the next 10 years and beyond. Can I also thank the team from the Chief Entrepreneurs Office and for Julia for hosting us and allowing us to effectively dovetail into this amazing Regional X series. And we were lucky enough to come in just in number 2. And as Julia said, with a very specific focus, because Nick and I have been doing a lot of workshops around Queensland, and like Julia said, we can't get to every individual town because of the geographical distance of Queensland and the government's budgets. But on behalf of the Queensland Government, we have been tasked with building a strategy around a concept called SportX, which is a new sport economy linked to 2032 with a 10-year strategy plan or 10-year vision. We all know in the tech space that changes daily, and the tech you probably have built this week has changed within a few months. So it's an ever-evolving space. But the reason we called it SportX was it really is the intersection of all things sport, technology, innovation, business, health. We believe that sport and the Olympic and Paralympic Games touches every single industry, and that everyone is excited about what's coming to Queensland over the next 10 years. So it is about amplifying, it's about the X factor, it's about collaborating and bringing together other industries that really might not have thought about sport as well, and do they have a platform or a solution that we could turn to solve some of sport's problems as we head in over the next 10 years. So this is the first collaboration with the Chief Entrepreneur's Office, and we're very grateful for them and the work they do, and Wayne, acknowledging Wayne as the Chief Entrepreneur for the last almost 2 years. So let's, for those that don't know me, my name's Nat Cook. I'm a 5-time Olympian in the sport of beach volleyball and an Olympic tragic. I love the Olympics. It travels through my veins every day, and thank you to Julia for acknowledging that by wearing her gold shirt today. So it is a special thing for me, and I've seen its transformational powers across the world, how it brings the world together. So can I acknowledge our friend Brian from bringing him from Japan. We've got Korea and someone from Seoul, I think, as well. So it brings the world together through sport, the power of sport. And not only the power of sport, but sport technology, sport innovation, and now a new industry and jobs economy that we're trying to grow here, high value jobs for Queensland. So over to my teammate and wingman, Nick, to introduce her awesome self.
Thanks, Nat. Hi, everyone. Some people I know, and good to see you again, and some people that I don't yet know. So lovely to see you all on screen, and I won't echo what Nat has said, but I certainly do second it. So I'm Nicolle. I come from an innovation background, and then was lucky enough last year to go out and work at the Queensland Academy of Sport, helping them with their new high performance sports strategy aligned to 2032. So having dipped my toe into the world of elite sport, I'm very privileged to then have been given the opportunity by the Director General to work alongside Nat to develop the inaugural state government SportX strategy, which is focusing on sports tech and innovation. And as Nat said, we're certainly not taking a narrow view of what that is. We are looking at that vertical, that horizontal view and the verticals of elite sport, allied health, you know, things like AI, things like augmented reality, how can they all play increasingly in the world of sport and health and well-being. So we're looking right through to the community sort of health and well-being and to the pointy end of sport, because as we know, some of the things developed and the tech developed for elite athletes ends up being, you know, the wearables that we all wear, etc. So huge opportunity here. Just to set the context, for those of you who might be a bit new to the world of sports tech, it is a significant industry globally, and there has been some work done recently by the Australian Sports Technology Network to really quantify what that sports tech industry is in Australia at the moment, and it represents $3.1 billion. So already it is a sizable industry with only opportunity to grow, and we really think it's going to be an area of focus in the future. 2032, as Nat said, it's a bit of a beacon or a lighthouse, a focusing point, but it's not all that we're focused on. So it's nice to have the attention that comes from the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and gives a really good marshalling point. But we are seeing this strategy as something that has the opportunity in the runway up to 2032, but for generations afterwards, fundamentally change not just our communities through health and well-being and better fitness and engagement in sport, but also through diversifying the economy and creating those jobs that Nat referred to. So this is the 10th workshop that we'll be doing. We've also had a range of one-on-one meetings, etc. And the intention of that is we are genuinely co-creating this with stakeholders from across startups, scale-ups, universities, venture capitalists, corporates, government at all levels we have engaged with, and not-for-profits as well. So thanks to everyone for taking the time to join us today. Just so you've got some context of what our plan is, we're conducting a range of workshops. As I said, we're starting to see some themes already, having basically spoken to over 100 stakeholders so far. And so our intention then is to synthesize all of that feedback that we're getting, draft up a SportX strategy that we will then, by the end of October, we're hoping for, that we will then release out for feedback on what we got right, where are the gaps, and then we're looking to finalize that this calendar year, hopefully for consideration by government early next year. So that's kind of where we're at, and so you know what's coming. And I think that's probably enough scene setting from us, because what we're really keen to do is take advantage of the expertise in the room on the screen and hear from all of you. So I think
the first thing we would like to do, we've got 2 case studies today that we're going to share some stories of those that are out there living SportTech, doing SportTech. One's from Townsville that we'll hear from to a little bit later towards the end of the session. And we're going to start with our very own motocross superstar that rode, for anyone that was on the call earlier, literally rode in. She's still in her gear. And Nick, you're going to take this one away for introducing Steph.
I am indeed. Hey, Steph, good to see you. You might want to stand up for those who weren't there. You might want to just showcase your brand.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I got laid in. So I'm wearing, obviously, our chest and body armor in order to be fully protected when you're on the road or when you do impact sports. So
excellent. And so that's, I think it's probably a good segue. If you could just give us a little bit, you know, the elevator pitch. I know that we've got a lot of people we want to hear from, but it'd be really great to understand a bit about your story, how FemPro Armour started and where you are at now.
So FemPro Armour started when I rode my dirt bike through the Simpson Desert in 2019 with a bunch of girls to raise money for Dolly Stream, which is an anti-bullying charity. And whilst riding and trying to stay alive over 1,200 sand dunes, I realized that my personal problem with protective gear was being shared amongst all the other girls. One girl even wasn't wearing anything. She just rode with her jeans and a long sleeve t-shirt because she felt that the gear that was available, didn't fit and actually hindered her in order to feel protected, which then gave her more issues and more likely to crash on her bike. So unfortunately, fortunately, my mom always told me that if you don't have anyone that leads you, become the leader in yourself. So on the end of the 4 days, I decided to create chest and body armor. Now, FemPro Armour started off with Miss MXG because it was all about motocross, but doing the research over the next 12 months, I've realized that the problem that motorcyclists have is pretty much in every other impact sport: horse riding, mountain biking, martial arts, and even high-risk frontliners. It also goes into healthcare. Pretty much wherever there's a fall happening or a collision with another person or a stationary object. So we created our first chest armor. And the uniqueness of our product is that it's very soft, light, and moldable to the body shape. Because we women don't fit into a box when it comes to body shapes, it is really crucial that we have something that, as long as you have the same cup size of your chest, you can literally, it doesn't matter what shape you have, the chest armor will fit. And obviously we then evolved and created shoulder and elbow and back and hip armor, so that we can cater pretty much into most mainstream impact sports. The only thing that changes is the garment as such, because obviously every sport has different injuries, so we adjust according to that. But yeah, FemPro Armor is available in 8 stores at the moment. So in the next few weeks, I have 29 to be signed up, which is incredibly. We're doing a road show. We're also pitching for investment, because we need to accelerate our supply chain, because we're going into the defense force and also into hospitals now. So you might, people might see online about looking for equity, shareholders to have some equity in our company, so they can always reach out. But that's pretty much where FemPro Armor is at the moment.
That's great. Thanks for that, Steph, and a good sort of synopsis of the inspiration behind and where you've come from. Just to get a bit of a sense, so what size are you at the moment? Like, is it you bootstrapping still at the moment? Do you have any staff?
No, so we raised last year with equity crowdfunding company called On Market. So we have now a good bunch of shareholders. We have achieved our first milestone in what we have set out to do back then. The next crowdfunding is about getting more staff, because literally I'm at a point where I can't cut myself more. I need people who will come and work in the company in various positions. So that's why we are going for the next raise, as well as I said, with the supply chain. But yeah, up till December, I bootstrapped everything. So I've worked a full-time job until 31st of December last year. And then I cut the umbilical cord of a business that I had for over 20 years, which was a bit of a heartbreaking moment, but also very elevating, because for me, being a professional athlete myself, we don't have a plan B. We make plan A work, and we do whatever it takes to make plan A go. So for me is, whilst I worked 100% in FemPro Armor before, but now it's literally everything FemPro Armor.
That's great. And we certainly have had, over a number of years, I met Nat probably about 3 years ago at a guest, and even back then, which was when I was in innovation, we were just having conversations that recognises the similarities between elite athletes and entrepreneurs, in that you just do whatever you got to do, you sleep on whatever couch you got to sleep on, you sort of, drive wherever you have to drive and find ways to get things done. And as you say, there's no sort of safety net. It's just sort of, all out to try and achieve the dream. I did want to sort of put out there, and I think this will come up in the conversation later, but you certainly do put yourself out there, and that's one of the things that you do. You've been at the Australian Sports Technology Conference, a couple of weeks ago. You were at the Women in Sport. You've recently taken part in the LuminaX accelerator. So I think, it'd be interesting to know, we are going to quickly cover off what you see as your company's key opportunities, and you've probably touched on a bit of that, but just any other key points you wanted to make, the main pain points and challenges. But I guess any sort of, learnings that you've had through, the LuminaX and attending the different conferences, and the value of, I guess, sort of making sure you're networking.
For me, in the last 2 years, the biggest part is meeting people, because you can't do it by yourself. And whilst you are doing it by yourself, but when you meet people, they connect you with other people. Your roadmap, like, I thought this is how I'm going to go to my end goal, and it has taken so many turns, good turns, but also bad turns, which the bad turns are actually even better, because that's where you grow. And by being out there, meeting people, talking to people, exposing yourself to others, your journey just flourishes even more. And I have met over the last 2 years incredible people that accelerated my journey with Fempro Armour by 1,000 times. I've met incredible people in, like with the LumenX program, for example. I knew I wanted to get into the hospitals with our hip armor, but I had no idea how to. And talking from one person to get connected to another person, it just opened up doors. And I think any entrepreneur needs to get over this hurdle of, I have to do this all by myself. And just ask for help. Like I always say, who do you know that might help us, or how can we help someone else? And because we're all doing the same thing, the struggles are real with everyone. And I mean, I can't even count how many sleepless nights I had. Like when I was a swimmer, I was dreaming of swimming. I ate swimming. I was breathing swimming. My whole life was about swimming. Now everything is about Fempro Armour. It's pretty much exactly the same, minus the water. However, you can't do it yourself. As an athlete, you had a coach, you had your support team. You as a business owner need to have that too. And that's why I make sure I go out and meet people, because even when you meet someone who goes through the same struggles, that's family, that's your support network that can help you overcome those days where you go like, I can't do this. I had enough kind of thing. And then they pull you back in and go like, no, you keep going. And I mean, I'm sure that you had exactly the same. A few years ago, I was asked by someone, if you had to write a book about your swimming career, what would the title be? And it came out straight away, and I said, Tears in My Goggles. And she said, why tears in my goggles? And I said, for 20 years, I was in agony. I was in physically and emotionally pain. I cried more in my goggles than I didn't. However, I loved every minute of it. And that's exactly because I had the support team around me. And so for me, there were many times with Fempro Armour where I'm going like, this is just too hard. And I had to remind myself, this is part of the journey. And when you connect with others, that journey just makes it easier. And it gives you the next stepping stone to continue going over those hurdles. So the biggest thing out of my 2 years is connect with people as much as possible and put yourself out there, because you just don't know where the journey goes. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to, sorry, I busted in there. I'm so excited. I can't wait to read your book, because I think as a motocross person too, you wear goggles. So there's no irony lost on that. It's a great title for a book, and keep taking the steps because that will inform those pages. So just not to add any extra workload to what you're doing, but a book would be great.
Yes.
So I think we're going to throw to Julia.
I think I'll just
Yeah.
I just before we throw to you, Julia, I just wanted to make that point that asking and offering help is so important, and it's certainly something that Wayne Gerard, our chief entrepreneur, ever since I've known him, he always, sort of says, how can I help? And I think it is that give back, but also don't be afraid to ask for help. And with your book, it might also be, now that you've got motocross, there's dirt on your goggles as well as tears in them. So that's part of the journey as well, isn't it? So I think we'll hand over to Julia now. Thanks.
But before Julia starts, if anyone wants to reach out, if they need any advice of who I have met or who could help them, my doors are open to anyone. And yeah, if I can help, I will.
That's awesome. And thanks for sharing your story, Steph. Appreciate it. Over to you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Well, I actually want to throw to others as well. So you know, we said at the beginning, part of this is about making sure that we know who's doing what. Steph really beautifully talked about the fact that connection is a really important piece of this. You know, we genuinely believe that if we are all doing well, we all do well. And so we want to make sure that we're connecting across the people on this call. I'm gonna ask people to play a little bit of Zoom roulette. We want to make sure we can get a hello from everybody and an understanding of who you are and what you do, what your business is. But I'm keen for this to be short and sharp so that we can get into some of our other questions. I'm going to start by Sarah Jamison. I might see how your volume's going this week. I might start with you, get you to say who you are and what you do, and then pick somebody else on the room. So everyone's got to be ready to unmute and give a little intro.
Good morning. Firstly, can you see me? Because
Yep.
I can only see a black screen for me, so I wasn't sure if you could see me or not.
Yep, we can.
Yeah, fantastic. And it sounds like my voice is working this week, so double thumbs up for that. So good morning, everyone. Amazing to be here. For those who do know me, I'm the founder of Cool Beans Underwear, and we've really only just been launching the last few months. But with the SportsX heading towards 2032, somewhere where I would like to take Cool Beans is actually develop sports-specific attire that has the tech that we have in Cool Beans to help preserve that male fertility in our elite athletes. So Cool Beans essentially is the world's first scientifically designed men's health underwear to help improve sperm health. And so essentially we want to convert that into sports-specific attire for the Olympics. Because at the moment, not many people are aware about the decline in male fertility. And then we're pushing our athletes to do the best that they can. And then they finish their career, you know, they might be ready to start their family. And then they go, oh, bugger, I don't have any sperm there, or, you know, they're a bit dodgy. And so we're sort of penalizing our athletes for doing so amazingly well, training so hard with infertility. So something that I want to do is then actually create that attire so we can help preserve our athletes that are training and working so hard, and then not to be penalized later on in life.
Awesome, Sarah. Thanks. I'm actually going to keep us moving because
Yep.
I'm going to skip over some of the Govy guys. James Muir, can I go to you, please?
Hi, how you going? Thanks for being here. Yeah, so James from Smart Sport HR. So we're a smart recruitment platform for sporting organisations. So democratising coaching by aligning sporting organisations with coaches and support staff. So quick history, we developed our legacy marketplace around 3 years ago called Trainer. So it's a marketplace platform in the soccer training space. And during COVID, we had a lot of stakeholder interviews and noticed coaches were quitting a lot of organizations. So we researched this a little bit further and found organizations struggled to attract and retain coaches that had a misalignment around values. So we actually developed a prototype to test this earlier this year in January, and had really good feedback and some investment from investors. So we took that to an MVP and have expanded that into all sports. So I was excited to go through the Startup Bootcamp SportsTech Accelerator, which just finished at the SportsTech World Series in Brisbane, where I met some of you as well. So that's really interesting, and we've expanded that into more of a diversity play, because we've found that obviously with Australia being more multicultural than before, there's more than 49% of Australians born overseas. And that's been transitioned into the participation space. So there's a lot of athletes from multicultural backgrounds, but not many in the coaching space. And a lot of sporting organizations don't even track that information. So that's what we're trying to do, democratize coaching and increase the diversity in coaches. So whether it's a female athlete that wants to have a female coach at the grassroots or semi-professional level, or an Indigenous athlete that would prefer an Indigenous coach, they're able to attract those the coaches, and the sporting organizations can retain them as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Brian Lim.
Hello, thanks for
Yep.
having me. Yeah, I'm Brian, joining from some Queensland team right after this as well. So nice to meet all of you today. I'm from Rainmaking, and as James just mentioned, we own and operate the Startup Bootcamp network of accelerator programs, where we hope to help both foreign and local entrepreneurs get the resources and skills that they need to run their business better and to grow their businesses. So whether that means in terms of community networking or even funding and resources like that, that's where we come in. Thanks for having me today.
Great for people on the call to know. Jody Graham.
Hey guys, so I'm from Central Queensland, which is our main mining hub. Like, we're a main mining hub here, and we are a startup for a tyre recycling plant. We the closest tyre recycling plant to us is Brisbane, so the amount of trucks and traffic on the road carrying all those mine tyres, which is ludicrous amounts, we're going to take them off the road. We're going to go from the tip of Queensland all the way back to Brisbane with our product. So we'll recycle it in the middle, and then we'll turn it into different products, some of them being innovative. And we've got some new products that will help road safety. But for this program, we're hoping to be the supplier of the tracks and paths and everything needed for the Olympics. So yeah, that's why I'm joining today.
Awesome, Jody. Kana Smith, if I've pronounced your name properly.
Yes, thank you for your time. I'm Kana Smith from the University of Queensland. I do a number of things, and I'm originally in cybersecurity, but since December last year, I've embarked on this journey called Mega Event CRC, and Nat and Nicolle, our team, Ryan, Steven, and I, we've met you a couple of times, and we bumped into a sporting tech event as well. But just for everyone's purpose, I'll try to keep it short. So basically, we're working on a research center. So it's a federal government grant where if we win the bid, we will be able to establish a center that provides a collaborative platform for industries that to work with universities, government, and other industries, and basically to tackle the future challenges that we might face in holding the 2032 Olympics and other major sporting events, but particularly on the angle of how to use emerging technology to maximize returns from hosting events. And it is very broad what we can do under the center. We can hold a number of research projects. For example, one of the Amanda Wheeler from Sporting Wheelies, who works in who's a strong disabilities advocate. We're working with their organization on how we can provide more access to para athletes in sporting games, but also with fans with disability who might not be able to come to the games and that sort of thing. Or another project could be we can use emerging AR, XR, hologram, that kind of technology to help the city to visualize the preparation and of holding events and limit the travels, which would lead to reducing carbon footprint, which leads to sustainability and all these sorts of things that we're discussing with the government people to leave the legacy as well. So
fantastic, Kana. I'm going to keep us moving. Sorry, sister. Robin, I'm going to throw to you. I'm going to come back to Robin. Sissy, I'm going to you.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Julie. Yes, I'm Sissy Ma, and I'm from Brisbane. Actually, my company is called Grow and Sell Your Biz. I help small businesses and startups to raise capital and exit down the road as well. And I'm also one of the founding activators of Coralus/CEO. So we're basically increasing funding for female entrepreneurs, having funded about over 120 ventures so far. And actually, a lot of the female entrepreneurs in Queensland have actually got some fundings from us as well. And yeah, so that's why I'm interested in the field. And I think we might actually have players or ventures in the CEO network that might be able to contribute to the cause for SportsTech. Thank you.
Awesome. Sissy, thanks. You can tell I'm a woman on a mission, right? Nixon.
Hey guys, my name's Daniel and I'm with One Time. We're a new startup tech involved in the sports timing sector. We time marathons, triathlons, cycling, and a variety of other events in that mass participation sport sector. So where part of our startup is some new technology that we've developed, making it smaller, lightweight, easier to roll out, and allows us to time events all around the world using our new remote software that we're developing.
Awesome. Thank you. William.
Hi, how you going?
Well.
Good, that's good. I'm Will, I'm from BDO. I'm basically moved to BDO a couple of years ago to drive a sports division. So a bit of a mix of, you know, working with athletes, but then also sort of creating a positive ecosystem where we can get athletes back into the business world and get everything they got out of sport and turn them into great business people.
Awesome. James Wallace.
That'll be me. Hi, James from Talk All Sport. I'm actually the electronics engineer side of things of our product. We've got a product that helps the referee to score via voice rather than having multiple people having to be in a part of the whole scoring system, especially for domestic games and things like that, where we find it really hard to get volunteers to do the refereeing. We can have one ref who can speak to the system. The software actually does the scoring and takes care of all of that. And yeah, so it just reduces the footprint and all of that side of things. That's pretty much it.
Thanks, James. Now, the Unisen, is that a name or is that a business name?
Sorry, Jules, I think that's Matcha.
Oh, Matcha. Okay. Well, I'm going to skip over Matcha then because I'm conscious there's a few of us on the line who work in roles we've sort of already touched on. Steve Butler, I'm going to go to you next.
Hey guys, Steve Butler. I'm the Regional Innovation Coordinator for Innovate Moreton Bay. So we deliver knowledge, innovation and entrepreneurship services in proud partnership with Moreton Bay Regional Council, fostering our innovation ecosystem.
Awesome, Steve. Important to have the ecosystem builders in the room. Have I missed anybody other than the Heathers and the Sarahs and the Nats of the world? We good? I have deliberately missed somebody on the call, Cassandra, because I might throw back to Nat to have a conversation with you. Thanks to everybody for jumping on, and please pop websites in the chat box, other links you want us to go to. It's important for us to kind of capture all of this and look at how we can support each other or work together. But Nat, I might throw to you to have a conversation with Cassandra.
Wonderful. Well done, Julia. That was exceptional. emceeing and moving along and getting everyone to have a voice. So that's what this is all about too. As Nick said at the beginning, genuinely we are co-creating this. This is not something we've written. We're taking copious notes. We will have a survey for you at the end to fill in. So if you feel like you want to say something at any point and you don't get to, there'll be an opportunity for you to deliver directly into the strategy. So as Julia said, we left one of the best till last, only because we're both Townsvillites. And I met Cass at the Tropical Innovation Festival only a few months ago now, Cassandra. And Cassandra has a property on Magnetic Island, and that's where I did my surf lifesaving. So we are like kindred spirits. So I'm excited to interview Cassandra a little bit about, or have her share with us, similar to the format with Steph, where you've come from. You're moonlighting two jobs. You've got your startup that you're bootstrapping, and you are the GM of Smart Precincts in Townsville. So share with us how that all works and where ProShaka started.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. Hi, everyone. So I guess just firstly what I do is I created a platform that helps parents to capture their kids' sporting history as it happens. And it kind of prepares them for when they're looking for scholarships and opportunities in the future. And where it all started was a couple of, maybe like 19 months ago, 20 months ago, we identified that a lot of kids were using social media to stand out and like share their sporting opportunities. And being that we're mad Cowboys fans, we're in this really great sporting community. And being that I've been really involved in sport for about 22 years, being that my son used to play semi-professional footy, it just really stuck out to us that there was a real gap in the market. So there's a lot of work being done, some amazing work being done at the moment, which is really focused on, supporting clubs and athlete performance. But I felt that there was a real gap in supporting parents and how we can help them to actually manage their kids' sporting journey. So what ProSharker does is pretty much helps parents to create their own legacy item.
Awesome.
So definitely chased you around the country, Nat, like when we met at the Tropical Innovation Festival.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. When you say footy for your son, is that rugby league or is that round ball?
So it's a round ball. It's soccer.
Yeah, the round ball. So my dad also played semi-professional football for Crystal Palace. So when anyone says football, that's what I mean first. Secondly, we mean rugby league because of the Cowboys doing amazing work. So keep cheering them 100%. On. And when Cass shared ProSharker's vision with me, and this will go back to Steph, the plenty of conversations Steph had where you get good and bad advice. I keep referring to it as a digital scrapbook. If I had a digital scrapbook of I have 110 scrapbooks that my grandma made for me, physical scrapbooks. But now that's the olden days. The digital scrapbook, the ability for me to showcase to colleges my volleyball, would have been amazing, and for my family to track that. So I really like this. Cass refers to it as a digital trophy cabinet, but I think you didn't mention that now, Cass. So you've either extracted that from your pitch, but you haven't picked up my digital scrapbook yet.
I haven't quite got to it yet. But so I guess in my mind, it's kind of like a two-sided marketplace. So it does work like a digital trophy cabinet or scrapbook, like Nat likes to refer to it. But I also see that there's a massive gap in the future around how we find emerging talent. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is there's amazing kids, and I refer to like an amazing runner in Mount Isa, or if you're a really cool up and coming female ref, where do you share your story? Where do you put your hand up to say, hey, I really want to be this. I need support. I want to connect with like-minded people. And I wanted to do it in a positive environment. And so where it all started also was that you'll notice there's no real sporting, ProSharker. I've noticed I've spelled it wrong. Don't hold that against me, weirdly. But ProSharker for us was more around good vibes. We wanted to highlight the academic and sporting achievements of kids across sports, music, dance, and the arts. And so there's a much bigger, broader picture. At the moment, sports, how we see it, is that it's quite siloed still, a little bit digitally disconnected, depending on which sport you're part of. And lots of kids are really playing 3 or 4 sports a year. So the actual products that we have right now don't necessarily meet the needs of families trying to juggle and manage the workload of what parents have. So, that's kind of the nuts of it.
You had a vision of arts and sport and culture and other things, but recently you've brought that back in to niche. Share with us how that happens and like why have you gone into one focus at the moment?
Yeah, well, going from sports, music, dance, and the arts just to sports, people still tell me it was based off a lot of feedback. I held on to that as much as I could for a long period of time. But what I did realize, it's really hard to be everything to everyone. And I think it naturally happens anyway. So, I took on some of that advice. And when I say that they told me just to niche down, a lot of people I spoke to niche down just on one sport. Well, I'm actually not going to do that because that doesn't physically fit the needs of my client or the kids or the families we represent. However, I will focus on sport. And I think that was great advice. And it has its own challenges, still having a lot of sports to work with, but it also presents some incredible opportunities as well. So some of where my journey started was and talking back to what Steph said, it's like who you connect in with. I came to Smart Precinct with two ideas, one for the transport industry and one for the sports space. And for me, that opportunity really presented to get involved with like-minded people. And since then, not only have I become general manager of Smart Precinct because they didn't want to let me go, but I've also done other accelerators. And I kind of feel like I've continued to get through all of these accelerators, and I've developed an amazing network, and I've really connected in with some great knowledge, some great mentors, some great advisors, and I can tap into those resources whenever I need to. So I think it really, as much as I feel like a serial accelerating participant, all of the support that I've received, say from Advanced Queensland, being a part of the Australian Sports Technology Network, and all the events that I've attended around that has really supported me to stay those days when I'm rocking in the corner, help me stay on track and stay focused to truly where what I want to bring together. So
and if where you are right now, if there was one thing, like what do you think, and we say there's no silver bullet or magic pill or something, but if there was one thing that would unlock for you and the business to go to the next step, because of course this is a journey up and down and around, what would it be for you?
Well, don't tell Smart Precinct. But I'm at that point now where you have so many opportunities, but what you need is time. And I actually want to be a founder-led business. I want to put my time into what I know I'm capable of achieving if I can just commit to it. Clearly, I still have to feed my 4 kids and my husband and everyone, but being able to transition into my role full time. And then we talk a lot about partnerships and going together in collaboration. And I think that that is true and 100% where I sit, but it's making sure that you're connecting with the right people who have the keys to the right door for what you're trying to do. And so for me, it's like unlocking those absolute opportunities that align with what I'm working in and getting into my business full time. That actually would unlock a huge opportunity for me. So yeah. And can I just say, Nat, you've been an amazing champion for me. And I think everyone needs a champion like you. Meeting you at Tropical Innovation Festival, the connections that we can all make and support with each other, that's been a game changer. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Cassandra. And that these communities like this, and I must say, at the Tropical Innovation Festival, there might have been 150, 200 people, but Cass said it at the beginning. She was like a serial accelerator person. She wouldn't take no for an answer. She was serial hunting me down. I don't know how long she was hunting, and then she got me at the bar. Since then I now think about Cassandra's product. So it's the way it's done. It's the sell, the pitch, the timing, the right keys to the right door for the right product. And you just, like we say in sport world, you've got to be like Stephen Bradbury and hang out there long enough to pick up the gold. So, and
you told me that actually when we're at the Tropical Innovation Festival, and it wasn't just to me, it was to the group. It was about, unlock the doors, bash it down, invite yourself, make yourself known, be really visible. And that's pretty much what I've done since we had that conversation, even though that's something I would tell people as well. But you sometimes have to remind yourself. And I think being in a regional town, we have so many opportunities. Yes, we can get through that door, but we also have the challenge of they're fearful of trying something different. They're fearful of being the first. And so what you have to do is when you've got all of these kind of faces looking at you, you've got to step over those and go to the next opportunity. And you can always come back and get them on board. And that's what I've started doing, stepping over any roadblocks. And it's coming together now.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Cass.
No
Nick,
worries.
do you want to take us to the next stage?
I just think it's really interesting. There's some really key messages coming from both Steph and Cass just around the power of networking, of asking for help, of, as Steph said, look at what your product is and who do you target, because you can't sort of target everyone. But now I think we're over to Julia, who's going to run us through those key questions with the broader group so we can really start to capture some of the opportunities, the challenges, what is that next step that would really move people forward. Julia, over to you to do your masterful.
Thanks, Nick. And Cassandra, thank you. There were some really good themes that came out of that people might be triggering some thoughts for themselves. We were going to break everybody into some smaller groups, but we thought we might actually hang out together. So again, we want to make sure we can hear from everybody, and we'll spend some time in this, but it really is to get an understanding. We'll send a survey afterwards, and there's some other documents that we'll send to make sure that this is not the only time you've got to have this conversation. But can I kind of open up to the group around, you know, listening to everybody's introductions, listening to the couple of ladies who talked about the spotlight, what are you seeing as some opportunities, some key opportunities for your business at the moment, or startup, sorry, whatever the insert word that you want to use there. What are you seeing as some of the key opportunities for you? And I'm happy for anybody to unmute themselves or for us all to stay unmuted so we can make this a bit of a conversation.
Julia, can I jump in? Just
of course you can.
As we're waiting. Yeah, so I might just add in one of the
awkward
things.
Silence. Someone also always jumps in.
I didn't want to talk first. I don't want to talk. Don't give me a mic. But I think one of the things is really understanding, especially kind of in a regional space, understanding what those opportunities are, because I think that, you know, there are a lot of people that could get a lot out of being part of the journey towards 2032 and the opportunities there, but they don't actually understand what that opportunity is. So from a hub perspective, I kind of feel like if there was collateral and we were kind of supported in a way that we could then amplify the messaging out. And I know that there is a lot of great work done through the Chief Entrepreneur's Office informing us of different things, but I think it's a real genuine from a hub's perspective. What can we do to amplify and create some visuals so people understand the opportunity? Because I didn't understand the opportunity until I got out of my bubble. And sometimes we don't understand what's available to us.
Yeah, great. And I think there's a role that a few of us, Steve, looking at you, me to a degree with some of the hub work that we do, we can really help get that out to people. What got you on the call then? What was the opportunity you were hoping might come from this webinar for other people? If you want to think about it like that, what were you hoping, having a conversation with Nat and Nick, what were you hoping might happen for your business from an opportunity perspective? That might be another way to kind of look at what's on the horizon for you and what it is you're wanting.
I'm happy to jump in there.
Go, Sarah.
So back, I don't know, probably a few months ago, I was on a fireside chat with Wayne Gerard. And one of the things that he mentioned, which is why I've been really coming along to these sessions, was that there probably would be an opportunity to pitch your company. What's your new innovation that would be towards 2032, and to try and get additional funding. So with me just launching Cool Beans, the biggest one for me is funding. I'm probably going to be looking at needing to go for a capital raise. I need to bring on staffing. I need to do more testing, and then supply chains, et cetera. But until I get Cool Beans and everything up like they're running, I've got no funding to put towards the development of our sports specific attire. So so that's sort of where I'm at. So I need funding for Cool Beans, but also if that is something that the Queensland Government is really interested in trying to preserve male fertility for our athletes, for me to start that step, I'm going to need funding specific for that as well.
Yeah, Sarah, thanks for that. And I've just popped in the chat a couple of the questions that we want to talk about. So let's open this up a little bit. And I know there's lots of note takers on the other end, ladies, for capturing some of this. So, that help around, well, where is the funding? What does this look like? Where's my market? And who can help with some of that, I think is really key to that. You might not always know the who, but if we're clear on what we need help with, there's plenty of us that can help attach and connect you to the right person. So
if I may
Go,
say
Steph.
something, I mean, every startup is all in the same of trying to get funding, because the problem is pretty much everywhere when you're developing a new product for me is finding the right people who can come on board. So yeah, because it doesn't matter if you have a lot of funding and you can get your product made, but if you don't have the right people to bring it out into the market, it's if no one knows about it. So for me is I'm looking for the right people to come on board in various positions as such. Would love to even find a co-founder who can come on board and help share the humorous task of FemPro Armour and just, you know, be a team. I'm a big believer in a team. You can't do it by yourself. So for me, I'm looking for my team.
That's awesome, Steph. Could I just ask a question? Because we have seen, I guess, there's a bit of a theme that is emerging in workshops around finding the right people, you know, with the right capabilities, the right attitude, you know, that type of thing. Do you think at the moment is your challenge that you need funding to bring on people, like, or do you think there are challenges in actually the right people being around and accessible?
I have to say, whilst I am looking for funding, however, I've been very blessed that I have had people approaching me that want to invest. So we're pretty close to our target of $500,000. For me, it is more the right people, because I need someone who has, or I like to have a team that has very similar viewpoints of my beliefs and what FemPro Armour stands for. Obviously, I would love to have someone who has a bit of an athletic mindset to it, because it can be quite challenging because there's no stop button. Like for me, and I think Nat is the same, we've never learned the in-between. It's either on or full off. So finding the right people who can stay on the same pace is, I guess, the biggest challenge for me. I'm not asking they have to be like me, not at all. I don't want another one like me. Oh man, that's just way too problematic. No, it's the team. I know where my weaknesses are, and I need to fill those spots with the right people to take over those. I don't want to do everything. I'm happy to, you know, share. So yeah, for me.
So Steph, how are you looking for those people and where?
I'm asked the same thing of how I received funding. I'm asking people, who do you know who's actually looking for a bit of a challenge? You know, the path that we are taking on is not an easy one, and I'm sure with every entrepreneur of their business, it's not an easy one. It's really talking to people of the different areas where I'm lacking in knowledge or expertise, and just finding and sitting down with the people. I'm very glad I've studied psychology, and so I can to a degree analyze the person, if you want to call it that way. Because for me, I don't need another person like me. I need someone that has a lot of attributes, but fills in the spots that I'm bad at. And I really don't want to get good at it because there's too much to do. So I'm looking everywhere, because you just never know where that unicorn sits. And asking people of, who do you know?
James Muir, can I throw to you, as you know, in terms of what you're seeing in the HR space, is there any thoughts that you've got around where and how we can find people, how we help people connect, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. Well, in terms of helping people connect, I definitely think LinkedIn is pretty useful, and for any other founders, and for getting connections with sporting organisations, that has probably been most useful to me. So that's what I definitely encourage. And look, finding co-founders one of my co-founders, well, our CTO, we found him through LinkedIn, and a lot of testing and trialing. My other co-founder we met through in the coaching space. So I think it's a combination of those personal connections as well as some online connections, and just testing and see what works. And I have a bit of a background in the startup space as well. Have been an entrepreneurship facilitator in Victoria, so have had some connections in that space as well.
I don't know whether QI Hub is one of those other spots, and I might call on somebody to chat about whether QI Hub is one of those places to find people, or if there's much of a sport part to that. But if people haven't come across that, it might be worth looking at. That's a Advanced Queensland platform where we can, you can put information in there. Anybody else got thoughts of where you found people, how you've connected? I mean, obviously the accelerators and some of the programs is one of those spots, but anybody else want to add to this part of the conversation?
Steph Cass, have you looked at complementary services or products in the market currently that could add value, that you could look to collaborate on a more deeper level? So
I have, as such, for us is, if I bring someone else's product on board, we need to create the brand awareness first. We need to establish a certain level before we can do this. I definitely agree it would be, add value at a later stage, not right this minute as such. Because we only launched last year, and so our brand awareness isn't where it needs to be yet. And so I don't think it would add value to someone else at the moment. But thanks, appreciate it. It's definitely something that I have thought about it before.
Jody, I've got a question for you if I can, and then Nat and Nick, maybe there's some other themes that you've had come up in some of your other workshops that we could kind of use as a bit of a conversation starter here. But Jody, you're coming into the sport world from a slightly different angle in terms of the, where you normally would be. What connections, what support, how are you finding getting into the sports track world as opposed to, road safety and other bits and pieces? You just need to unmute yourself. Oh, you can't?
Well, in that case, Sissy, I noticed you've got your hand up. Did you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah, sorry, I have another idea. So maybe you guys want to run this issue with Steph, and then I'll come back if that's okay.
Thanks, Sissy. Righto, Jody, while you're unmuted.
Sorry, Sissy. I'm like madly trying to get my mouse to unfreeze. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, I did want to come into that. Our company is looking obviously for collateral, like most of us. They're going to ban export waste in 2026. So at the moment, we export tire waste overseas to be manufactured into different products. There was huge funding before the election for tire waste recycling, and we missed it. And so where we're aiming for is our products. Like, we're manufacturing products that will go towards the Olympics for the tracks. So we make a rubber crumb that you put on all your athletic tracks. Pathways are used for it. They've just developed new asphalt for the highways, which is incredible for our cars, for the carbon footprint. It brings down noise. It's really good for tires, so you get longer usage out of it for this particular asphalt. So that's a new innovation, not mine, that we would tap into. And then we've also come up with a product that can be used in these Olympics that is new innovation and very exciting. But where we sit is we are bootstrapping. and the machines that we have coming from the US are extremely expensive. So we're on hold while we're waiting for that. But we've got our factory that is an inland port with railway access right at our doorway. So we'll be, yeah. So for the sporting industry, which by the way, I'm also an athlete previously. So I used to water ski and was an international champion. So like Nat and what's that lady's lovely name? I've written Steph.
Yeah.
I do understand about living, breathing, everything that we do. So yeah, I have made the transition as an athlete to getting into this rubber cycle, which I am so passionate about. But yeah, just finding the connections, I've kind of missed that.
Yeah, so we've got, I just popped something in the chat, and I'm sure some of the others in the team will be able to connect you just even into other industry groups that are looking at this. Yeah, because there's some work that's been done that says for regional startups, it takes 2 years longer and often costs us 150 grand more to do what it is that we're trying to do than it is in a more metropolitan centre, because we don't have the networks often. There's nobody else doing what you're doing. So the idea of these conversations is to help close that gap, help speed that up a little bit, so it doesn't take you as long or cost you as much. So there'll be some, we can chase some things up there. Sissy, I'll go to you, and then I'll go back to Nat and Nick for some other themes or ideas that came out.
Sure, thank you, Julia. One of my ideas is that I actually attended an event from Hong Kong SD development or something. It's called Belt and Road Summit. I think end of August, beginning of September, and it's a huge summit. But what the summit actually connected, and they connected project owners with investors, with other people, representatives, and they have a huge engine at the back that actually did the AI connections. And I just put my information in a number of projects that I was representing. I put them in, and I automatically got matched basically meetings, that meeting request that put people, I don't know whether people actually did or the machine actually did, but we had matched meetings, and over a number of days, 5 or 6 days, that you just basically meeting with investors on specific on the project that you wanting to raise capital, or you wanting to connect with manufacturers, or whatever your requirement is. I just think that is a really great thing. I know a lot of the big events happen, and then what happens after that? You want the event to be there, but you also want the networking to be happening before and after, and the connections that happens as well through the artificial intelligence behind the scenes. And I think it's not perfect. The AI is not perfect. I got some really bad connections, but that doesn't matter, because if you get one really good connection, that really makes it, right? So I think if there's something that we could investigate at the government level or something, to see its matching of potentially you can have this matching network of suppliers to manufacturers or providers, and to people who actually need those services. And it's like, okay, we got the the startups. There's a lot of startups, but there are a lot of people, big businesses or small businesses that they're acquiring their service. How do we match them up? And there are existing platforms out there that does that. But if you do one specifically for SportTech or sport, for the Olympic, there will be a lot of attraction as well. I have some business ideas about the Olympic. Sure. So that's just. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sissy. And we can have that in the mix with some of the ideas and opportunities that'll come up through this strategy. Nat, can I throw to you? Is there a question, or is there something you want to test with this group maybe that's come up in some of the other sessions you want to get some feedback from these guys on?
Some of the themes that have come up is around the storytelling. So we've already heard that. We've heard around how do we, and I just made a note too about supporting the hubs to tell the story, not just the businesses, you know, like Jodie's out in central Queensland. And so supporting the hubs, supporting the network, that's been a theme. We're also looking at potential more education and connecting and networking, and some of that online, some of that through playbooks and allowing more information around the current environment rather than having to Google and getting something from the US about, you know, sissies, about venture capital, about finding the capital pathway. And often the feedback we've heard is they learn from the US, and that's often wrong for what's going on here in Queensland. So if anyone has any experience of that, trying to learn some of the stuff themselves, realizing it's wrong and not knowing where to turn to, some of the topics, if you want to put in the chat, some of the topics of a playbook you would like to see that the government could deliver as an online resource, that would be helpful. What else, Nick?
Yeah, so the playbooks is one that's come up. So just so people know, the playbooks that have been mentioned to date are things like pathways to capital, going global, scaling up, establishing a joint venture, but also potentially there's been a lot of interest in the newer areas like Web3, blockchain. You know, what does this mean for sports tech? So, you know, everyone's kind of learning together in a bit. There have also been, so just to Sissy's point, there have been some themes around people don't necessarily know, you know, what problems government or industry are trying to solve. They may have a product or a service that could solve it, but they don't know. So it is around how do we articulate and then socialise the different areas or priorities or problems that then that business matching can have an environment to occur. Just to your point, Julia, about people in regions, it is harder to connect and it's harder. So it's how do we connect people? People in the workshops have seen real value in just meeting the people in the room and just having the conversation. And in some cases, so we've already had over like about 20 businesses say just meeting different people in that room have given me a business opportunity to possibly connect or partner or join up what we're doing or leverage. So it's how do we create those environments? Things like
can I add? So sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up on here.
You're right,
I'm
Steph.
a little bit literal. I would love to see in a playbook on a little bit of Nat's attitude in regards of, you know, from a athlete point of view, is when we get those roadblocks on how an athlete overcomes those, because not everyone has been an athlete and they might not have those tools when they want to just throw in the towel, because it's all great knowing on how to, you know, fund a project or get funding or get a team together and all that and have the various tools. But a lot of times is when it gets really tough, we need something that usually doesn't come very easily. So in a playbook, if something like this would be included on how to overcome these kind of emotional challenges, would I think would really help, because yeah.
Yeah, so that's great feedback, Steph. And what we are looking at doing, rather than a prescriptive playbook around that as much as a whole series of telling the story better. And I think it would be around how do athletes, entrepreneurs, you know, how have they overcome challenges? What is it that sort of mental resilience and agility that you need? And how do you build it and develop it? So I think it's a really important point. And we'll look at the best sort of medium for that, because I think we have, you know, a whole range of successful athletes, you know, just on this call and in this room, and throughout Queensland. It would be good to give them a voice, and also our entrepreneurs who have shown resilience in other areas as well. I can see William's got his hand up, so I'll pass over to him for a sec.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I put in the chat earlier, BDO run the like director for startups. So they've actually got a full startup education team. Angela Young, who runs that at the moment, she's really passionate. She was an entrepreneur herself, and she runs a bucket load of programs, and that can be ranging from online. So for those people in the regional areas, they can actually just get a taste around what they need to be doing, what they need to be looking for, and get an idea of what sort of programs they can run. And then from there, if they want to go into the full 12-month program, they can then do that from there. And it's only one touch point a month, I think. So there's heaps of different resources there. I'll put the link in the chat. So it's definitely worth having a look at that. And even like Angela's great. So even if you just reach out to her directly, there's plenty of resources on how she's helping startups develop.
Awesome, William. I've done some of your BDO things as well. So they're really, they are really good. I can vouch for that. And James has got something in there around, you know, this piece around how do the introverted people in the world go about, you know, pitching a product and being confident and comfortable to be able to do that. So that's certainly something that we can work towards.
Yeah, James, on that, just quickly, James, there's only two ways. You get out there and do it and practice it. Believe it or not, I am an introvert. I'm a trained extrovert. I learned that it was the only way. I don't always enjoy it, but I've been doing it 25 years now. I just put on my Superman suit and out I go. So that's one way, learning and being able to be competent in a skill. It is a skill. Or you do what like Steph is trying to do, find a co-founder or a partner that's going to deliver that with you. That's the skill set that you don't want to take that part on, because you might be the engineer, the software engineer, but your co-founder has to have that skill set. And in your matrix of skills across the company, you got to make sure that's there, because I used to say the Richard Branson pitch. It's now the Elon Musk pitch. If you had him for 35 seconds, you know, how are you going to get the attention? You absolutely need to have that. So great question.
I totally agree with Nat there. I probably would say 80% of elite athletes are introverts. It's just we had to learn. And there's a great video called the 10,000 hours. It's all about how long you have done something to become a professional. I swam about 65,000 kilometers, not because I enjoy swimming 65,000 kilometers, hell no, but it took that long to get professional. So it's if you're not good at it, it's pretty much you haven't done enough of it. And then it comes down to a point of, do you really want to become good at it too? You know, there are things in my business I don't want to do. So that's why I want someone else to do it.
Yeah, great.
That's Thank you.
Yeah. We might move to the Slido slide, Heather, if we can, and just start to, this is not the finish of the conversation, right? But I'm conscious of our time and I want to wrap it. And I know we've got some surveys and things that are going on. Can I just, go Nick.
Just before another key theme that has been coming out. So we don't have to, I don't want to discuss it now, but I just wanted to raise it so that people can have it in their mind for when they complete the survey. We have had suggestions around specific programs to help companies grow, like accelerator type of ideas, you know, bespoke programs, etc. So I'm just keen, if in the survey, to draw out, I know that, you know, I think James on this call has recently been in the accelerator, Brian runs accelerators, but yeah, just if you can keep that in your mind, and if you think it's a good idea, not a good idea, anything like that, put in your survey, that would be really useful for us to tease out.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. That's really important, because my ask for people on this group was actually around, you know, when we first talked to a few people about SportX and strategy for 2032 Olympics and all the rest of it, in my part of the world and in some of the parts of the world where you live, you know, people were like, great, you know, we want to build a massive equestrian center because we want the Swiss horse riding team to be in Emerald, or, you know, Gundy's got its hand. What was I using the other day? The Guatemalan darts board, you know, darts team. How do I get them to Gundawindi? And yes, that's part of the Olympics and that's part of what will come. But really what we're wanting to be able to do is, how do we use this around the businesses and the conversations that we've really been having? So you might talk to people in your network or across your part of the world, and they'll be saying, well, we want this team and we want this. there's an element to that, and that will come in time. But really the conversations that we want to have is really what we've been talking about today. So my ask to you all is, if you can help people that you're speaking with, this isn't about saying no to all of the councils and nobody's getting a new whatever. This is about how do we actually support businesses now to scale, so that come Brisbane 2032, we've got some of the things in place that we spoke about. So I just kind of want to put that in, but feel free to pop in your survey that you want the Guatemalan darts team or whatever it is. But I just really want to make sure that we're clear with our messages as we go out, because we all can actually play a role in helping advocate this, and you know, we all have a role to do that. So I just want to get that in, so that Nat and Nick don't wade through all of these asks for that kind of stuff. That will eventuate, but that's not what this is about just at the moment. So we have
Sissy, based off your AI description, I will now remove the word Olympics from all of my CV and my LinkedIn, because otherwise I'll be on 150,000 meetings. But it is a great idea, Sissy. It scares me. It scares me. Anyway, Julia, back to you. Let's close it out.
Yeah, so we put a link of Slido. Heather, do you want to explain Slido so that we can get people to capture some stuff, and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, so if everyone wants to click on the link, it'll just take you to a particular website. We've just got a question set up there, which is just essentially share your thoughts. So if there's anything that you might not have got a chance to say in the room today, or if there's something that you think of after today's session that you go, oh, bugger, I should have said that. Slido is the opportunity where you can say that. So you can type in as many notes and as many comments as you like, and we're literally just asking you to share your thoughts. So once you click on the link, you'll have the opportunity to type in any comments. And this is an opportunity also to provide any feedback. So it's just any thoughts you've had around today that you might not have been able to share, / if you think of after the session, feel free to enter in here. We're just capturing a few different avenues of your comments, but we'll also keep everything in the chat. And one thing I just wanted to say off the back of procuring for the Olympics, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but the Queensland Government, when they're ready to procure for the Olympics, there's a portal right now, a procurement portal, where you can register your interest to be part of the Olympics procurement. And by registering your interest, the Queensland Government will also send out regular newsletters to keep you apprised of what is happening in the procurement space. So if that is something that you are interested in and would like to keep informed of, I would Google, Brisbane 2032 Olympics procurement and just register for that newsletter as well. I'll also see if I'll find the link as well. And when we send out the link to the recording, I'll include it in there as well.
Robin's just put something in the chat as well. Thanks, Robin. We'll pull a lot of that together so that it can be circulated out both to this group and wider. Link for the procurement piece, Heather, if you're able to pop that in. Steph's asking.
Yep.
One
thing too, just before, we were really hoping to do like a group photo. So if everyone could please just turn their cameras on for a quick moment. And feel free to make it fun, strike a pose if you'd like to, but we'd really love just to get a group photo so we can really just share the experience that we've all had today. That would be fantastic. Thank you. Jason, Nixon. Oh, sorry.
Come on, James.
All right, 3, 2, 1, say cheese or strike a pose.
Cheese.
Did
that work, Heather?
I will tell you. Yep, that worked. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
So team, there's a couple of things. You'll get a survey from Nick and Nat around being able to provide more information. So as we said, this is the start of the conversation and making sure we can tap into people. Anything else, Nick and Nat, from your side of things that they'll get from this? Link to the survey.
Well, draft report will feed back for you to have a read and see, like, if you have any comments at that point. Like Nick said, the goal is end of October. And you look out for that early November, because by the time we get that into a draft state and the right people have seen it, so that'll be something that comes. And then, of course, you've heard from Cass and Steph today about the importance of the networking opportunities, and now we're returning to face-to-face, how important that is. So look out for any of those. And I know we do try with the Tropical Innovation Festival in Cairns. There'll be stuff in Townsville, but maybe look at, you know, one trip where you'd like to go to one of those events a year just to keep up your development, your connections. It's really, really important. And that's what we're trying to foster with SportX as well.
And there is and I'll throw over in a sec for more details. Our emails will come from SportX, just so you know. There is also a leading industry body, the Australian Sports Technology Network. So if you're not aware of them, it might be useful to check them out. But there is, speaking of coming to events, and I know it can be hard if you're located further away, but there is a Something Festival coming up in end of October that Office of the Chief Entrepreneur also have a day. So I will throw over to Sarah Smith, who probably, or Heather, or whomever wants to.
Yes, so check out the Something Fest website. It's a week long of activities. It kicks off on the Sunday with the welcome event, which is active. So that's down at River Life, so people can get in amongst it and do some sports and have some welcome barbecue. The Monday is the Queensland Chief Entrepreneurs Day, which is really the big picture around innovation. Some case studies. We've got a Going for Gold, Going for Green session on there, and then all together in the morning, and then in the afternoon that you break out. We've got a dinner on the Monday night at Cloudland, which is a dinner evening with the ecosystem. Tuesday, Wednesday is something digital. So that goes into more of sort of your Web3 and your metaverse and sort of the nitty gritty of digital platforms for good. And then the last 2 days, the Thursday and the Friday, is all about something tech. So that's where some of the tech businesses will be able to showcase. They'll be doing some investor matching, and also we're trying to get some corporates there that could potentially be purchasers of the products. And then it culminates on the Friday night with River Pitch, which I've just seen come out on socials over the last 24 hours, that if you're looking to pitch at that event, it's one of the biggest pitch events that happens. There's investors in the room. Deals are often done from that day. So if you're in a position to apply for it, we strongly recommend you to put your hat in the ring for that one as well. So week of activity, jump on board, and we hope to see you there.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think, Julia, just from us, and I'll leave it to you to wrap up, but just really wanted to thank everyone who's taken the time in the room. And I know that as was raised before by James, sometimes if you're an introvert, it can be challenging to speak out. So do have your say in the survey and in the other forums if you couldn't say what you wanted to today. And I'd just like to hand back to Julia with an extreme thanks, I guess, to echo Nat's thanks at the beginning. Julia, you have been amazing in your facilitation of this and promoting it through your network. So just from us, thank you personally for doing this, and I'll hand over to you to close out.
Pleasure, Nick and Nat. I should have started by saying I also was an athlete in a past life. From grade 1 to grade 4, I won everything at primary school. I probably also need to tell you I went to a one-teacher school and was the only kid in the class. So my sporting career took a massive nosedive from grade 5 onwards. The purpose of these is to bring people together and have a conversation, and I think that's what we've been able to start to do. Some of you were already connected. You're more connected now. I want to make sure that you can stay connected. So you will get the SportX email. You've got the Office of the Chief Entrepreneur email as well. So please reach out to people. People want to help and want to support and want to see you do well, regardless of whether you're regional or not. That's a Queensland thing, not a regions thing. So I really encourage you to do that. The low carbon accelerator program might not be relevant for all of you, could be for some of you. Jody, I'm thinking you in particular with some of yours. So reach out around that. And we will be having another Regional X webinar in October. And the theme for that is around spaces, places, who's doing what in the hubs and networking side of things. So again, and we've got Peter from down at Canberra Regional Innovation Network is going to be joining us, one of the one of the topics that came up in our first session was around, you know, the fact that there's stuff happening in the rest of Australia and how we're tapping into that. So Peter's going to join us. There's heaps more we could talk about, but it's 10:30 and we've all got other things we need to do. Thank you very much for joining. We'll send the recording out and we'll talk to you all soon. See you later.